down to feel the warmth. What time in your life have you been closest to starting the fire? Life in public accounting. If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear. I've never done this in real life, but definitely in video games from time to time. I always feel like a loser in school. I have friends but end up alone 95% of the time. It's rough, dog. When I was like 15, I got in a fight with my friend over something stupid. I went home and was shaking with rage. Full on puberty meltdown anger. I was stomping up and down the hallway, breathing through my teeth all hard. At one point I went in the kitchen and got a knife and started talking to God like, forgive me for what I do to him. Lol fucking Nimrod. I'm embarrassed when I think about that. My old job. A lot of people quit when I did. They'll survive, but the atmosphere isn't nearly as light anymore because all the fun people left except one, and now the turnover rate is ridiculously high. Oh man, middle school for me. I was heavy bullied at school, mentally and physically. I wasn't getting any support at home or felt like I was. I was not in a good place then. I had so many negative thoughts of hurting others and myself. Thankfully I never had a gun, or I would have become one of those school shooters. That how bad and deep in depression I was in. I did end up in a psych ward, and man, those places are terrible. I didn't get any help but only learned to bottle my shit up more. My family doesn't know that I've hit it big in my industry, the industry they said that you'd need superhuman talent or a lot of luck to make it in. I'm getting my finances and the logistics in order, and next week I'm moving out unexpectedly. The guys I've hired to move what few possessions I'm taking with me arrive sometime in the morning and my flight leaves in the afternoon. I'll leave a letter explaining that I haven't harmed myself, but they are not likely to see me for a long time. I've got my own phone on my own plan, a plane ticket, and a place lined up on the other side of the country. My family won't take it well since they thrive on control and conflict, and I expect the whole family to implode from finger pointing and drama whoring once I'm gone. My side hobby is dog rescue. My Facebook feed is filled with code red animals that are about to be euthanized, with news reports of animal abuser after animal abuser after animal abuser, sexual assault of animals, starving them, beating them, dog fighting, some with quite graphic photos. If I respected life less and had martial skills. But fortunately I am not them. And I refuse to become them. Instead I will do what I can to heal the mess they leave behind. Working in public accounting as an auditor. 65-plus-hour weeks, getting yelled at by clients for things that aren't your fault, getting chewed out by your manager for being over/under budgeted hours for a client, staying in hotels 5 days a week during busy season, eating poorly because you never had time to cook. Let's just say one of the best days of my life was when I got laid off from that place, which opened the door for a great opportunity with none of the issues listed above. My dad didn't seem to take any interest in my life since I was 4. Then when my mum left him and I told him I was going to leave, he then proceeded to do everything to get me to live with him, buying me stuff, telling me mum isn't a fit parent, trying to get custody in court. I decided to live with him because I was too scared to start a new school midway through the year. He then dates this woman who was pretty much the catalyst in destroying their marriage and gets mad at me when I don't treat her like a mother. Mum is now trying to get custody and I would burn his house to the ground if it meant she would win. 16 years old. Finally decided to fight back against abusive parents. Only had to do it once to stop the physical abuse, the brain fucks kept happening. When I was a kid my dad used to beat on me pretty often. When he was sober I usually did something to deserve it. When he wasn't it was just go time. One night, I was 14, he got drunk and when I got home from a girlfriend's place he cornered me and put a revolver to my head. He told me how worthless I was and that he would be doing me a favor by killing me. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I just waited for him to pull the trigger. He didn't. He left my room and left the revolver on my dresser as he walked out. I took the revolver and went out. I walked around my hometown, sat by the river and thought about all the ways I could get back at him for all the misery he caused my mother, sister, and I. I also considered doing the old Kurt Cobain, but that's not relevant. I took the weapon apart and threw its pieces in the river. No one's asked me about the gun since. It's probably still there. Edit, holy shit, that blew up. Thanks for all the upvotes and awards, everyone. My parents were horrible abusive drug addicts. They were known in the town and I was always treated like I was using meth myself as a kid. People tried to get me removed from classes because I would be a bad influence. Teachers made fun of me or kicked me out of class for things like playing in the rain and coming in all wet when they knew damn well my homeless ass walked to school. But one thing really stuck out. The day my parents died, they died a day apart, but it blurred into one. A cop pulls me over. I'm 18. Homeless and have no support. He tells me I did nothing wrong and hands me a seatbelt ticket for $90 and says don't turn out like your parents in a really shitty tone. My blood boiled and I just wanted out of that town, but I was broke. Well, I stuck to education. Got my EMT, got my fire science degree, and I got my spot on the local fire department. I didn't think much of my past, but one day I had a car accident I went to and it wasn't bad, but the car was overturned and the guy in it was freaked out, rightfully so, and when I get down to let him know help's there, you know who it is. That cop. And I would never refuse care, I wouldn't imagine doing so to anyone, and it never crossed my mind, but I swear that dude thought I was gonna leave him to die. He started looking like I was death. But instead of the burning down of the village, I helped him and he was really proud of what I became. I explained to him what he had done to me, and he knew. But I think talking to me and getting my point of view was eye-opening. Anyways, I still think it's funny the dude thought I was gonna kill him over a ticket. When I was in 7th grade, my parents got divorced. My anger and sadness continued to grow. One Thursday night my father picked up my siblings for the obligatory meal out. I declined to go. I went into my room and started fucking around with my chemistry set. Picture this setting, a farmhouse built in 1830, burlap walls in my bedroom, hundreds and hundreds of comic books, and wall-to-wall carpeting. Your standard tinderbox. Instead of using a Bunsen burner for my heat source, get this, I used an empty plastic margarine container. And instead of practicing any other safety protocol, I set the fuel on the carpet and lit it. Surprise, the plastic melted almost immediately and the fuel soaked the carpet. Before I knew what happened, flames were licking the walls and furniture. At this point I had the good sense to yell fire to my mother, who was blissfully unawares in the kitchen. She dialed 911, while the child genius ran in and out of the inferno trying to save his Marvels and DCs. Thankfully the emergency services got there quickly and were able to contain the damage to my bedroom. It was completely blackened. For years I believed the whole thing was a terrible accident. Only as an older adult can I admit to one simple fact: my pain and need to be seen, manifested in the torching of my own room. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, though feeling very loved cause I was the youngest. I'm from a culture where you're not supposed to be gay. So I always knew that I was loved for the wrong reason and that the moment I'd come out, everybody would hate me to the core. The facade I kept up with lasted into my mid-20s, and then one day, I just exploded and updated my social media, coming out. My family hasn't spoken to me since then. It's been 6 years. I guess the fire is still burning. Edit, wow. Thank you all for your kind words. It means a lot. I know a lot of you are concerned, but I have found my own family. I have a best friend who's there for me from when I wake up till when I go to bed and vice versa. Had she been a guy, we'd probably be married by now, smiley face. I also feel that I need to clear something up. One of my brothers still speaks to me. I get to speak to his children and he has changed my view from how I used to look at him. Growing up, he had a mental illness, and in my family, we never believed in that either. And I feel terrible because remembering when I was a young teenager all the way until I turned 20, I used to be angry at him saying that I didn't believe in his attention seeking. It was taking a toll on the family and I was mad at him for a long time. I've said stuff that I'll probably have to live with for the rest of my life. Whereas when I came out, he's the only who didn't stop talking to me. The way mentally ill people are viewed in the culture, family member is the only one who was there for me. I never mentioned that in my original post and I feel like it's something that should be mentioned. And today, I'd put him above everyone else in my family, no matter if they'd come around or not. Around after I came out, he got into one of his episodes and nobody cared to talk him into getting to the hospital to start his meds again. I was on phone with him from the other side of the world for 3 days until I convinced him to get into the hospital where they helped him. I like to think that he forgives me for the things I used to say nowadays because I'm doing everything to make him know that I feel like there's absolutely nothing wrong with his mental illness. Edit 2, okay, I just got my first ever silver. Thank you whoever it was, heart. Wife was a senior staff for a local science fiction convention. Not only was she an unpaid volunteer, she had to take a vacation day off work and pay for her hotel room and parking. On the morning that the convention started, she was setting up the first of the 3 rooms she was responsible for: manual labor, moving tables, setting up shelves and loading them with stuff, and somebody came in, took her ID badge off her desk, and brought it to the convention's lost and found. Convention LF lady told wife that lost badges have a $5 fee to get them back. Wife looked at the badge, looked at her, and said, "Keep it. I'm going home. Have a nice convention." Wife was about 25 feet down the hall when LF lady caught up to her and returned her badge. The theater department at my college, despite building their entire persona on empathy, was the judgiest, cliquiest, least empathetic group of people I've ever known. If you weren't part of the in crowd, you weren't given the same support. There were many of us that existed on the outskirts, working so hard just to see the same few people get all the opportunities, even as far as being cast in lead roles after they graduated. As I struggled with depression, anxiety, and undiagnosed ADHD, I worked tirelessly to keep up with my peers only to be told I needed to apply myself more. I saw people put in half the work some of us did and end up with higher grades. One professor actually gave arbitrary grades to the 4+ hours of homework he assigned based on page counts and who he thought deserved a higher grade. I tried so hard to get no support in return that I became incredibly suicidal and had to take a semester off to deal with my mental health. It only took 2 more years and another medical break before I finally was able to graduate. I used to work in fast food, and was the only person in the store that didn't smoke. Everyone else got to take a break to smoke, but since I didn't smoke, I wasn't allowed to. Eventually, I spoke to the owner about it and was rebuffed, so I went over their heads to the company board. Owner got his ass chewed out for rebuffing me and I wound up getting a huge bonus my next paycheck, but when they discovered I reported them, I got fired immediately. Turns out they'd been violating company policy in food prep and storage, so I filed another report to corporate. Store got shut down for months and my former boss got fined 6 figures. Whenever I'm in a meeting and my suggestions are getting consistently ignored and I'm getting interrupted and talked over, I get the weirdest urge to prove I still exist by jumping on the table and busting out the Queen of the Night aria. Edit, there's a lot of good advice in the replies. I will say that in about 60% of my meetings this is never an issue, and in the other 40% it's an issue because of a few specific co-workers who resort to just yelling if confronted politely. Their managers have been made aware of this,